If you own a website, it should be making you money. SEO can help. Welcome to Enterprise Website Secrets, SEO. I'm Rhonda Kay, developer, consultant, entrepreneur. I started building websites in 1998 when the website was new. I was the go to person for anyone who needed a website. And so one day my daughter said, "Hey, mom, since people are always coming to you and asking you to build a website, why don't you start a website business?" Well, at the time, I had already started Let's Talk Productions and I was doing the talk show. And so I thought about it a bit and I thought, well, yeah, building websites could help me earn money to make these productions. And so I did, and I got pretty good at it. But it wasn't long before I found out that a great website was not enough. People wanted to be found, and they wanted to be found at the top of Google on page one. Keep in mind, at the time, there was no formal training, but there were like a few internet marketing gurus, and there was Microsoft offered a lot of training online. Google had training online, and a lot of their training was free. A lot of good quality training at the time. It was free. I started doing trial and error and putting into practice the things I was learning from the gurus and from Microsoft and from Google. However, there are a lot of steps to SEO. And so when people teach you how to do SEO and there's not this, you're continuing with this formal training, and how do you know which training is right? I had to go through that and piece all of that information together. And after my trial and error, getting good enough to get found on page one and get opt ins and things like that, Google changes the algorithm. And so my pages weren't doing as well. So I had to learn again. I had to go study again how to get to page one and stay on top. And it was during this time where I developed a secret strategy. I finally figured out a way of implementing websites to where it became natural, and I was finally able to maintain my Google ranking almost effortlessly. And that's what I want to share with you today. Today, I'm going to show you how to use my three-step SEO strategy to get your website found at the top of Google. Because if you're at the top of Google, people can see you. And if people can see you, that is your website, they can click on your link. And that, my friends, is free traffic. And if people click on your link and you're having this free traffic, then you have an opportunity for people to buy. Now, you can remember everything that I'm teaching you today in three phrases: people search, people click, people buy. Everything I'm going to tell you today, you can find in a free download, Insider Secrets to Google Page One Results. It'll be available to you as an immediate download. 3 easy steps you can begin following today. Now, step 1, you're going to learn how to optimize your page titles. In step 2, you're going to learn how to optimize your page content. In step 3, you're going to learn how to do technical SEO. That is, optimize your code. Now, what is SEO? I'm going to read you my definition of SEO, and that is: SEO, or search engine optimization, is the practice of making sure your website pages match whenever someone does a search online. So, what happens is, I'm going to read you another excerpt from the book. When a person does a search online, they are looking for something specific. Results that are most relevant to that search show up at the top. So the most relevant results show up when your pages are optimized, and it starts with your titles. Let's look at that. So you're going to optimize all of your titles, and here is what your titles will look like on the page. If you've ever used Word, Microsoft Word, then you've made titles and or subtitles, and there are headings or levels, and they label them as H1, H2, H3, and there are 6 of them. They get smaller, and they may even be different fonts. They don't have to be, but um, just remember the different levels, H1 through H6, and notice how they get smaller. So I'm going to use as an example, this is fictional, just bear with me and humor me if you will, how to bake a chocolate cake. That is my main title, my H1 title. That's what you would want your page title to be. And then if I have a subtitle, it's going to be an H2 title. That is the 7-step to the perfect chocolate cake. And then you're going to have H3 titles, and I'm going to show you what this looks like in a moment. Your H3 title might be the ingredients. You might have step 1, which is also an H3 title. You might have step 2 or any other page sections that would be separated and that would have a title to tell you what that content is about that supports more what this page is all about. Okay, let's take a look at how that would look. Okay, optimizing your content. So I like to use as a good practice in the very first paragraph, I want to summarize my page. For example, after I have my main title, How to Bake a Chocolate Cake, and my subtitle, 7 Steps to Baking the Perfect Chocolate Cake, then I'm going to use my keyword phrases, bake chocolate cake, as follows. As an experienced baker, people always ask me how I am able to consistently bake a delicious and moist chocolate cake every time. So it uses those key phrases and it further tells what the page is about. Now, here is secret number 1. No matter what your page is about, if you will list as a description in the very first paragraph, summarize all of your page content, then if you do nothing else other than a good title and a subtitle and the rest of your content, Google will automatically pick up information from the very first paragraph. This is the secret that I discovered by trial and error. Now, notice I have an image. And if I'm going to have an image on this page, the image is going to be labeled as well. I also have a logo on this page. So the images must be labeled as, for instance, this is a chocolate cake. It's a photo of a chocolate cake. So I would name that image before I uploaded the file name, photo of chocolate cake or slice of chocolate cake.jpg. And then in the logo, it would say Delightful Desserts logo. So to recap, in step 1, you optimize your page titles. In step 2, you're going to optimize your content. So that means all of the content on your page is going to support how to bake a chocolate cake. You might have ingredients, you might have different processes and steps that you want to include. So those steps have descriptions underneath it. You may even have a video on the page. And if you have a video on the page, that is going to help as well. Now, step 1 is the titles. Step 2 is the content. Once you've optimized your content, and let me say, every piece of content, whatever kind of content it is, you want to make sure that it supports what your page is all about, because remember, Google is looking for the most relevant page, and those are the pages that show up at the top. So now we're going to step 3. Now, if you need to, you can get with your web developer. If you use some kind of website builder or website platform, for instance, the Leezy platform, which is my platform at leezy.net, then this is done automatically for you. The code is automatically optimized in the background. Find out if you use one of those platforms, find out if there is a tool that's already built in for you. If not, then you would need to get your website developer, work with them to optimize the code. And the way they would optimize the code is they would optimize what we call the HTML tags. And here is a sample. For instance, the title would say, it would match the how to bake a chocolate cake, where it says this is my page title. Then there is a meta tag, and in it is the description of the page. Now, by default, here's another secret: Google will pick up the very first portion of your web page, some of the text. So that's why I said put the description of your page, a summary, in the very first paragraph, and Google will pick up some of that text and use it as the description automatically. Even if you don't do any SEO, that is what Google currently does. Now, your meta description should be between 150 and 165 characters. Okay? Next, you are going to tell the robots to index your page and to follow any links. You have your H1, which is a tag that describes your headline, and you might also have an H2, and it would be the subtitle, and then you would have the paragraph. If you have any links, then you would also want to add a title to those links. Then you also, in your images, you want to make sure that there is what's called alt text, ALT. And if you are using a website builder, then you can enter the alt text inside the dashboard whenever you upload a photo. And that is pretty much all there is to optimizing your website. It is easy as 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to take a look at some results. For I Want Desserts, and I live in Dallas. Okay, my result, this is me, is the very first result. This is the first result out of 18.8 million results. Okay, now let's take a look at another result. I'm going to look up homemade, let's do homemade restaurant. Homemade restaurant. The name of the website for that same result is homemadecooking.net, and usually people will search for you by your name, but that is only the people who know who you are. For instance, if I did not know that this restaurant existed and I wanted some homemade cooking, then I would do a search for homemade restaurant or homemade cooking. Let's try that, homemade cooking. So here is the homemade restaurant. I can click on it. It's the very top result. Now let me go back and show you how many results there were. Now, I haven't done very much, but I could get this to rank even further. This is a 710 million results. So this is on page 1 out of 710 million results. Now, if I were to do a search on delightful desserts, now delightful desserts is the name of the business, and homemadecooking.net is the name of the website that is for that business. So there is a location here, Delightful Desserts in Dallas, and then a location for Delightful Desserts in DeSoto. I could actually do a little bit better with the page title, and here is the page description. In fact, this is where my software grabbed the description and information that I placed in the page, because at the time that I built this site, I developed it very quickly. And so it grabbed the most pertinent information it could based on what I typed in there. That's what I meant by your software will pull the descriptions. I'll be producing some more SEO videos to talk about some of the other things you can do.